Hi you guys, I am having orientation tonight, this evening, for a new opportunity, and I'm spending the rest of the day looking for additional opportunities. I just left the car wash and then I came to the gym by my old apartment at Granville and Broadway, and took a shower and did some stretching. Xavier's downtown refusing to get rid of this cart, and every time I see him it's like a weird joke, like that he has something else that's absolutely ridiculous to have. It's very clearly not Xavier behaving of his own free will and volition, you know? That's for sure. Yesterday I went back and he had an industrial sized blender and a microwave in the bottom layer of this shopping cart. He won't get in the car at bedtime. He's been sleeping on the floor outside of my car door, like guarding my sleeping body or something. And he falls right asleep, you know. But I'm concerned overall. We had just discussed a path for him with regards to developing his artwork further. His grandfather is a famous art, I don't know if it's painter, or that's what he told me anyways. I don't know if it's true. I've never done the research, but when I first met him, his family was having some sort of financial dilemma or argument with regards to his father, Jose Montoya's estate and all of his artwork for sale. So I don't know if that's still a thing. His father is Lebanese and Mexican, and his mother is just Mexican. And my parents are pretty much like Swedish, Irish, Italian, Mediterranean, British. I don't really know. Something. So Weston is a lot of things. My other children are Hispanic and white mostly. My son-in-law is Moroccan. So, anyway, I'm not quite sure, you know, what it is that his father was famous for. It's something to do with his cultural ties with art, I want to say. I think. And I think he has a famous actor who's his uncle. But anyways, I am going to refocus on those items. I called all three of my children this morning. You know, it's a better day for me when I get to touch base with the kids early in the morning, see what their plans are, make sure that they've got something productive on the schedule. I need my son to go finish his graduation for his last semester. I'll feel a lot calmer once that's done. You know, Vivi has to get her state boards done for esthetician school. But I guess they're trying to somehow, apart from whatever they charge for the tuition, they also call for another charge of $200 to actually take the state board. So she's waiting, you know, spending time at home and relaxing, which she should right now while she has the opportunity to do so, because once the babies get into school and you start working, you wish you had those days back when they were babies, you know. And Alexis started cheerleading. Her stepbrother is playing football and her father is coaching. the football team. I wish I could be there to coach the cheerleading team. I was a cheerleading coach when I was in middle school or early high school for the Elmhurst Eagles. What else? My son, Phoebe, Alexis, haven't heard from anyone about Weston. I sent a really long message to Xavier's mom, my mother-in-law, currently, but she hasn't responded, and I hope everything is all right. Usually her and I are able to speak without any sort of issues, but it's been a few months. Xavier said that she responded to him a few days ago, but nothing that he's been able to share with me for some reason. I hope whatever he's doing right now, he's being treated like a toddler should, feeling safe and loved. Do you guys remember, I don't know if any of you went to daycare, but when I was in daycare, I hated it. I would cry. I would cry and wait for my mom to get back. I hated it so much. And with the exception of a week or two, I never made my children go to daycare. I had my ex-husband's mom and dad who would stay home with them, or I would stay home with them. But with that being said, do you guys ever remember like being in daycare, like a strange setting, and just that feeling of like, gosh, I can't wait till my mom gets here to pick me up? Like, I cannot tell you how many times I have imagined Weston feeling that, but then what? You know? Because I never get to go and pick him up. Anyways, gotta get back to finding a way to buy a house by the end of the year. Hopefully I'll be able to. Just want to move forward and flow into the future, you know. They've been holding me back for a long time. Do you guys understand there are demographics that are functioning on like 10G? I just got a phone last night and paying for service on 5G. I don't know. got a car wash on the way here because if you go to the car wash on Ridge and most of the express car washes, you guys know how they have like the cheapest car wash starting at $5 and then they go all the way up to 20, I want to say. And you could add like the lava shield or like the protection, blah, blah, blah. I usually just get the $5 wash. But then they also started a subscription plan where you can pay 14 to, I want to say 40 a month. 40, I think, is unlimited lava, or 60 is unlimited lava. 14 is unlimited of the basic wash, so you could literally go through every day. That's the one I have, but I have it all the way in Melrose Park, Franklin Park area, where I was going to visit Weston, Xavier and I. But since we don't go there anymore, it's kind of just been, I haven't had any like reason to be going over there because I only see my big kids if they need help. Like if my son calls me and says, Mom, I have no food, can you bring me dinner? I'll bring it, you know, but that's only if he can't get it himself, because otherwise I just try to send him $10 to $20. My older daughter moved to the suburbs, as I'm sure you guys have heard. And truthfully, I was driving around yesterday. I went to Barrington area, Mundelein, I think it's called. And I was like, it's just such a different... You forget how peace works when you're always surrounded by people and cars and busyness. And then when you get into that environment, it's like, oh God, this is what that feels like, you know? So, I don't know. right, so I would say all in all that was a productive tour. And did I show you guys how beautiful this is? This color scheme. I'd prefer Automa Pagich. But anyways, oh yeah, so when you get one of those washes, you also get a another one within 5 days. Which is weird because the Lava Shield is supposed to be a 7-day thing. But whatever, you know, who's gonna say no to the free car wash? So it's not really a free car wash, it's just a car wash that you pay $20 for and get a second one if you remember within 5 days. So then, yeah. And with that being said, oh, thank God. I went there after I went to the suburbs this morning to vacuum and get a car wash. And oh, sorry. Distraction, but I'm having a difficult time with my anchors. You know, I don't want to be anchored to downtown. And Xavier is forcing us to have anchors there. Pushing around this cart with this industrial sized blender and microwave and all this other shit in it. I want him to just focus his mind on buying a house and begin working on his art, and then allowing me to encourage him in creating meaningful relationships with individuals who have the ability and desire to purchase that artwork. But he's not focused or able so far. And I discussed this on my line. Xavier, when I first met him, listened to mostly, I would say alternative, but also popular. So like anything that you would hear on like The Mix or, 103.5 or like the more in the middle that everyone can kind of agree on style of music. And he started doing things like listening to really extreme music. He started doing other things. We agreed to a Dos Equis presence on the internet and in our personal lives, apart from the intimacy that we would share romantically as a husband and wife, that we would stay like PG-13 in the things that we do and say publicly or discuss on the internet, etc., and so forth. And he began to engage in really, really destructive things. He began to, I'm not going to go down the entire list, but just really shitty things like excessively masturbate. He stopped sleeping in the bed, and I would wake up and he would just be laying on the floor doing that. I found a photo of like a woman. It seemed like they were kind of trying to create a loose version of what I have already gone through and what I've explained and described having had gone through, rather than like getting creative and saying, okay, if we've already gone through this and it didn't bring us the intended result meaning Heather purchasing a house, having a stable source of income and a safe place for herself, her children, and her husband, significant other, whatever he wants to be called this week. And we already went through that, and she doesn't have what she's, working towards, then we should not curate symptoms, circumstances, and environments that would give us the same or similar, if that's not what we wanted the first time, right? You would think that that would be, a common sense thing. And from that understanding, but yeah, from that understanding, it's like you have got to permit a person to get away from all of these blood-sucking, hooks in their skin. Otherwise, the results will be the same over and over, because the people who are creating these circumstances are not investing in their education. They're not investing in their own circumstances. They know only what they know, and that's all they really care to know. So if those people are the only people who are allowed to intervene or address the issues, and, that continues, there won't be any changes. And it's not because the rest of the demographic doesn't want them. It's because they're not being permitted. And that demographic that continues to put their hook in your skin, that's the same demographic that's taking over my husband's body and mind and taking him out of the bed and putting him on the floor so that he could excessively masturbate, or saving a photo of some girl spread eagle bent over on, his cell phone, or just things that he's never done before that he would not do on his own. They're just not his things. And they say they're doing it so that they could keep us together in classification with our families and like people who we know, so we could be the average. I don't want to fucking be the average. I want to be who I am and let these people be who they are. I don't like this. So everything was going great with regards to Xavier and I and our development and our closeness and our relationship and our, desire and ability to parent our child, et cetera, and so forth. And these ignorant individuals began taking over his social media. His social media, his phones, his emails, et cetera, and just doing the most through him. And looking at the most disgusting shit. And I told you guys about 100 million times, they've done that to me more times than I can count. I'll be asleep and wake up in the morning. The phone I'm talking to you on right now has a shattered backside. It's completely shattered. There's like spider web style cracking all over the fiberglass. When I went to sleep, it was fine. But when I woke up one morning about 2 months ago, it was completely shattered. I didn't even start an argument about it or document it, because I've reached a point of exhaustion of where I'm able to identify that certain individuals who should not have any rights to my life, name, belongings, etc., for some reason keep on gaining access and entry. And very seldomly, if ever, are they held accountable financially for the things that they've caused. And so I'm just looking forward to getting in alignment with an authority that doesn't allow that, that doesn't allow these people to take over my voice, my name, my identity, my intentions, my anything. I want to move forward. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later. I'm going to handle a couple of other things that I've got to do before I can really refocus. But and I want to check on Xavier. I don't like it that he's just wandering around downtown with no purpose or goal. I would prefer him to be in the car in clean clothes with his belongings put away, and not just sitting on the side of the curb waiting for trouble. Like, it's just not wandering around downtown with a microwave and a cart full of garbage. Like, I don't know. It's just very clear and evident that these people who are controlling Xavier and a lot of my direction are not interested as a priority in our success. They seem to be interested as a priority in the success of something external to our lives that I'm not quite sure how to understand. And that's a part of life that I can't understand. I've never been so interested in causing problems for a person ever in my life that I did something to their husband to cause him to do things that he's not morally and ethically aligned with, so that his wife and children and him could be separated and spread apart and forced to go through various, weeks or months of torture and hell. And I don't get it. I don't know who aligns with that. And I don't understand the path for that, any of that, at all. But it does seem like I don't know what to name that energy that was controlling me, that I was begging you guys. If you go back into my videos about a month, you see a video where after a significant amount of time where I was doing a media cleanse, they started to get to me, and I was in the middle of a live and I was like, I can feel their energy. Like, they're starting to get to me. And they, don't seem to want there to be a lot of documentation about it. That's another thing. Because until I'm speaking about it, there's no issues with my live. Then all of a sudden they're threatening me and saying they're going to do this, they're going to do that, without identifying themselves, just some ominous threat and voice. I don't get it. If you want to snake or stalk or harass or whatever this is called, why don't you try putting forth the same amount and volume of energy into saying uplifting things to me, into saying positive things to me? Everyone claims to be so worried about my personal impact. They're always throwing into my face that I did the impact campaign on my very first Instagram, where they were cutting my legs into shreds, and they basically were trying to make me kill myself after the narrative of everything that happened, in 2020 with my ex-husband, who, and the girl, that he was cheating on me with, and everything being so public and everything. But under that understanding that they wanted to cause me this significant amount of pain or upset or what have you, it's been proven, and they've tried to come at me for some sort of personal, accountability, as if I'm creating, or as if during that time I were creating content discussing the ways where I was being victimized in an effort to cause harm to a third party individual, when in actuality, the only purpose that I've ever created content was, number one, for business. Number two, so that I could document, I call them FTRs, of different things that people have been doing to me, or different ways that they've been attempting to harm me, etc., when I don't have any other way to document that. And those are the only times, so if you want, you snakes listening and talking shit in my headset, if you are so worried as you claim to be, about my impact, why don't you try, and this is just a suggestion, why don't you try to be a part of the solution? If you're worried about my bills being paid on time, why don't you go out and create a fundraiser in my name and connect it to my bank account and allow me direct deposits for no reason, $500 a week, $1,000 a week. And guess what? Then you could be part of the solution. My bills could be paid on time and you don't have to worry, right? If you're so worried about, something along the lines of my personal impact on society with creating content about the slanderers or the people who stole my underwear out of my purse or the people who disconnected my reverse camera and someone had to fix it for me, or whatever it is that you think me documenting is causing harm to the world or the environment or what have you. If you just want to go ahead, and contribute, have my back rather than causing me harm, say a compliment to me rather than doing something harmful, I wonder what would I have to say that would be potentially harmful to the demographic if I were living in an environment in which my environment and the people in it were supportive to me and kind to me and made me feel like there was a way and like the path was here and that I was supported and protected. What would my content look like at that point? And I'm not telling anyone to be or not to be toxically positive, because that works for different people in different ways. You don't want to be misleading. If someone can help you and they don't help you because they think, oh, well, she's good, let's go to the next person, that needs help. But you're really like in suffering in silence. You don't want to do that. But at the same time, you don't want to, over kind of kill your situation. At the same time, you don't want to be neglectful. You don't want to let it go too long so that things are confused and no one understands, etc. Especially when you're carrying a demographic and a dynamic of and a cadence of speech that needs to be considered in a chronological order that makes sense in order for solutions to be presented. But I promise you this. There is no one who is contributing negatively or adversely to the overall impact of the world who, well, from this side anyways, who is documenting and using social to document, who is doing so because they feel loved, accepted, and supported. If I'm creating videos where I'm asking for help or I'm saying, I don't know where the higher power went, things just got real weird here, I don't know what to make of this, I can feel something happening, the energy got very heavy, very dark, very what have you, the influence doesn't seem to be behaving in a way that's productive, someone is falsely reporting my Grubhub account saying that I'm stealing the people's food, when I'm so paranoid at this point about what they could have said on my Grubhub that I'm literally at each delivery, not all of them, but most of them, if they don't ask for a photo, I was taking a photo anyway on my phone and holding it. I have never stolen food from Grubhub, ever. Xavier and I were starving, no meals, days going by where we would only have one meal and we would share it, a bowl from Chipotle, and I wasn't stealing the food from Grubhub. So to have them writing those reports and, it's stalking, bullshit, aggravation. And no, I cannot work in a brick and mortar location unless it's up here. Part of a demographic that this demographic cannot access if they had $1 million, could not access. Because this demographic is historically, part of that demographic that's likely not very busy, has way too much time on their hands, is probably not the most educated, is probably not the most socially conscious, and they come into my experience historically for only one purpose historically. And that purpose has been to move me. And what I mean by move me is no matter what I say, I was at the Ping Pong Social Club and I decided that I was going to be the director of sales. I looked on LinkedIn. I saw the job openings. I said, fuck this, working as a server, a bartender, a hostess, just the same as Northwestern. I was one girl, one woman doing 5, 6 different jobs every single day and barely making enough money to contribute to my goals. I could pay my rent. I could pay my car payment. But what else? You know, there's more to life than just those two things, right? I have goals. I want to build. I want to buy a house. I have 4 children. So I decided I was going to be the director of sales. It was a position they had posted on LinkedIn. I knew about it. I had applied. I received a response to set up an interview. I was so happy. And as soon as I received that interview response to go up, I got called in by the regional manager, a nasty fucking woman. Ugh, she is so nasty. The only 3 times I ever met her, she was just the opposite of pleasant. She would come in and I would be, oh, hi, how are you? It's good to see you. And her response would be, hi, you know, and keep it moving. And not even like keep it moving in a good way, like keep it moving like where she goes over to another girl to like look at you and make sure you're looking so that she could pretend like she's engaging in conversation that might make you feel uncomfortable to engage in some sort of psychological line of questioning or misunderstanding or fear, etc. That was the type of boss that she was. And she, like I said, she was there maybe 3 or 4 times the entire time I worked there. But that day that I got the response about going up to the national level, so I would have started traveling. I would have gone to the San Francisco, New York, Chicago, and I believe possibly Texas locations. And, yeah, she fucked that up for me. Someone ordered like 20 shots of Patron. And I, at that point of my career, was already aware of good sales and bad sales. I had worked as a bottle service girl after Northwestern, but before I started working as at the chiropractor's office. And while I was working as the bottle service girl, I was good at pushing liquor. You know, I was good at it. I was good at making sales for the club. I was good at everything, you know, in sales. And I didn't know that it was ethically bad. I really didn't know. I felt like, well, these guys are out drinking anyways, or these girls and guys are out drinking anyways. Like, who cares if I push them to spend another $1,000, you know, like what does it matter? Or who cares if I like accept a drink from them and dump it in the garbage and don't drink it and ask for another one? You know, who cares? But at this point, while I was working at the Ping Pong Social Club, I never even tried to upsell a single item at all. I allowed people to ask me questions. I gave them my opinions and my recommendations and suggestions with truth regarding my satisfaction to the product, but not an overwhelming amount of pressure to engage in a behavior that I have perceived has been bad for me in my life, etc. And this guy ordered 20 shots of Patron, and it wasn't Patron. It was Don Julio, the most expensive bottle of Don Julio that we have in the building. 20 shots of them. So one shot was probably like $52 or something. And, or like $48 or something. So I go to get him all these shots. I enter in the order. It turns out to be like a $500 or like $600 tab for just his group. I don't think it was 20 shots. I don't know how many shots it was, but it was a lot. And I'm like, this is fantastic. They just walked in, they just sat down, and I already have a $500 tab. I'm going to get a fat ass tip on this table, you know? And I walk over there, and my bartender was Lassane, and he's pouring the drinks and putting them on the tray for me. And the bartenders don't read minds, okay? They don't have ESP. They're not fucking witches. They're bartenders. And he wouldn't have been able to pour the beverages had he not pulled a ticket. So he pulls a ticket and he starts making the drinks. And this lady comes up to me, the regional, and she just starts laying into me. No, oh, great job, Heather. You just got a $500 charge. We were having a shitty night. We only had $4,000 worth of sales for the last 3 days. We only had 6 fucking ping pong tables full this week. Great job. This is 1/8 of our entire week's worth of gross income. Like, fantastic. None of that. Not a high five, not a thank you, not anything. I was excited to be a part of the company. I was there 9 months at that point. I was ready to level up to this national, director of sales position. I was so excited. And this fucking lady could not have been more unhappy for me. She was such a hater, such a fucking hater. And she was kind of fat, and she would always like stare at me and like give me an attitude because I was losing the weight for Weston after I had my baby. I was losing the weight fast, and I was very active. I didn't have a lot of downtime at all. It was like work, walking around, hustling all around, barely eating, maybe one half a meal at work and maybe a meal after work. Then hustling over to the MCA where we were sleeping. We were sleeping outside wrapped in a moving blanket, dude. It was fucking terrible. We had no car. We walked everywhere. Like, she was just a hating ass bitch. There's no better way to say it. She had a car. She was getting flown all over the country. She had a regional director job. She was staying in 5-star hotels. And here I was, after everything I had been through, the sex trafficking, the extortion, being assaulted in a number of other ways, separated from my children, separated from my family for 6 years, and like just having my baby ripped out of my womb and stolen from me. And she knew all of that, and she was still just fucking terrible to me. Awful. And so she like starts yelling at me, you're not allowed to take shots without a ticket. And I was like, first of all, I already sent the ticket. Otherwise, how would he be making the shots? And she said the same thing again. You need to send a ticket, but like nastier than me, like nastier than I sound right now, like a real bitch. And I started blinking back tears. Like literally, I swear to God, I'm not lying to you, on everything I love. I just stood there kind of like in shock, like literally blinking back tears. Like I could not believe this woman was treating me this way. And she did it so loudly and humiliating, like in front of customers, in front of the other bartenders, in front of everyone. It was awful. Like I did nothing to her, literally nothing. And, then she called me up to the office and wrote me up for the reason that I needed to work on, handling my emotions better. Oh, you just humiliated me in front of everyone for making 1/8 of our entire week's gross profit in one transaction, called me names, and said that I needed to work on my emotions in front of my fellow staff and other coworkers, and superiors and customers. And now you're calling me up and serving me with a write-up saying that I need to work on my emotions? Are you fucking kidding me? And that was the beginning of the end there. I knew that I was not going to make it very much longer, because knowing me, I can close my mouth for a long time. I really can. I can be quiet about things for a long time. But when it gets to the point where I am saturated, there's not much that's going to be off limits. Like every fucking secret I've kept for you, every time I've been quiet, every time I've eaten shit metaphorically and let you be right while I'm sitting there getting, sucker punch after sucker punch after sucker punch. And I look back expecting that you'll be there to have my back and you're nowhere to be found. That's called saturation point. And once saturation point is reached, there's really nothing left that there's no amount of silence that's going to result from my experience. Every single fucking thing that you do to me from then on is going to be documented, because I understand a mistake. I really do. I understand doing your best and fucking something up. I understand being taken over by someone else, or led into, or brainwashed, or conditioned, or groomed, or forced, or extorted, or what have you. But what I don't understand is, in the absence of all of those things, how these people continue over and over and over again to blatantly fail to be able to be capable of identifying assets from liabilities and treating them as such. So anyway, why did I bring that up? I don't know. I've been having like a couple of other brain farts today. I was speaking with the person at the gym, and I don't know what I was talking about how they attempted, or no, they actually took three $54.99 fraudulent charges from my bank account a few months ago. And they were like miscoding them as LA Fitness, but then they were putting various number sequences after each transaction. And that I didn't want to cancel my debit card because my mail goes to my grandma's house. But if I go pick it up from my grandma's house, I have to bother everyone, to meet with me and like make sure they're home at that time, that our schedules cross paths at the same time. And I don't like to be a bother, like I'm very grateful to have them there, and I don't like to be a bother. You know what I mean? So anyways, I had to cancel my Chase card. But because I couldn't cancel it right then and there, they refused to refund me the money. And I went to the bank to file the dispute. And do you know how much they gave me back from $200 approximately worth of fraud? It was $54.99 since February of this year. And then a fake Netflix charge for like $20 or $15.99, and like one other charge with a bunch of numbers after it. So about $200. And I'm not like rolling in extra money right now. Like my car payment is late right now. Well, it's not late until 3 days from now, but I haven't made it yet. And my insurance has to be paid before August 9th. Otherwise, they're going to turn it off. And I could not possibly work more than the schedule that I've been working 7 days a week. So that means there's one solution, and that's higher pay. And with all of that, to understand. Wait, why was I saying that? They're doing it again. I just think it's really important to document when I have these. It's literally like if there's neural activity and movement that's actually physically inhibited by some sort of external force. I don't know how to describe. It's like pinpoint accuracy, like where they want me to stop each sentence. Boom. I was talking to the person at the gym. I had to cancel my Chase card. I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't forget, but there seems to be some sort of issue and interference with communication at this point. So I'll leave it at that for today. But anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well, and that your personal lives have not been subjected to this kind of interference, I guess would be a good word. And wish me luck for my orientation at 7 p.m. Oh, and that's where all of this was. That's why all of this was brought up. So I had a manager who was very tolerant. Very, very tolerant. Grubhub themselves are even like weak-minded when it comes to dealing with this type of interference. Or maybe not weak-minded, but just exhausted of it. They're just interested in continuing. It's not weak-minded. It's a mental exhaustion that it's like you can identify how many productive things you should be doing during these periods where your mind is being like sucked into this fucking garbage, like the stalkers calling over and over again. And you have to answer those phone calls, and you have to respond to those people and say to them, please stop calling, Heather doesn't work here anymore, even if I do. You know what I mean? Like, it's just been exhausting. And the only way to get around that is to continue only like self-employed, independent work endeavors, 1055 opportunities, and things of that nature. Because as soon as I go into any sort of brick and mortar setting and I'm there for longer than a day, it becomes an issue again. even at my previous apartment, you know. I need, in my next apartment or house, I need something with an underground parking garage or an enclosed parking garage so that I could shake a tail anytime they're following me and just basically disappear into the underworld to go home. Like, that's what I need, because it's too much, like, handling these people all the time. And it's too much for me to have to rip out my roots and re-sow them every few months. That's not how I function best. You know, I function best having my roots, you know, firmly planted. So that's what's been going on with us and with me. I think that if you are in need of any sort of assistance with now I just left the fucking car wash. Why would you even do that? And that's a $20 lava shield. I hate these people so much. You have no idea. But if what they need is someone in the restaurant industry, I'm number one, it cannot be me. It will not be me, but maybe Xavier will go in, you know, I need to stay transportation. And I need to stay isolated within a lot of rational limitations. So, you know, I need to be in control of what type of communication I have. And also, just for the record, it is not perceived that my content is reaching the mainstream public. To my understanding, I have a team of followers that is an independent investigation or acting and advocating as an independent investigation with regards to everything that's been taking place over the last 6 years. So when I speak on these things, it's not under the assumption that this is going to whomever and whoever and wherever. And with that being said, I'm sure Xavier will be glad to go into the restaurant. I think it would be great for him. You guys have fucked up his mental health more than anyone could ever even imagine. He's sitting around in some lady fucking lace Zara shorts and a crop top that says Loretta Lynn on it. Like, what the fuck? Xavier's not even like that. Like, what is